Hello friends. Have you ever met someone and just felt like your souls recognized each other? That you didn't need to explain your thoughts, they were just understood. If you're a Cancer man and you've found yourself enchanted by a Taurus woman, or vice versa, you're not imagining that deep connection. You're tapping into a cosmic alignment that's as ancient as the stars themselves. So what really happens when the emotional, intuitive Cancer man falls for the grounded, sensual Taurus woman? Is it a match made in zodiac heaven, or a recipe for subtle friction under a calm surface? Today, we're peeling back the layers of this intriguing pairing and diving into the chemistry, emotional dynamics, long-term potential, communication styles, and so much more. Buckle up, this isn't your average zodiac compatibility breakdown. It's a soulful journey into two hearts that speak different dialects of the same emotional language. Chemistry. Initial attraction. Imagine the first encounter in even more vivid detail. The Cancer man enters a room, and his presence is subtle. He's not the loudest voice or the most visible energy. He's the kind of man who blends into the background while quietly taking in everything. His emotional radar is always on. He doesn't just see people, he feels them. And across the room, there she is, the Taurus woman. She's not trying to be seen, and that's precisely what makes her magnetic. There's something grounded about her presence, like she's deeply rooted to the earth beneath her feet. She's not flamboyant, yet there's a richness in the way she carries herself, a calm, self-assured beauty that demands attention by doing absolutely nothing. And the Cancer man? He's hooked, quietly, instantly, and completely. The air between them is heavy with unspoken curiosity. He doesn't approach immediately. Cancer is a water sign, after all, and he flows slowly, thoughtfully. He watches her laugh, sip her drink, maybe touch her necklace absent-mindedly. Every gesture feels deliberate to him, like part of a larger story she's not telling but somehow inviting him to read. Meanwhile, the Taurus woman, while appearing emotionally grounded and reserved, feels his gaze, not in a predatory or uncomfortable way, but in a way that makes her wonder who this man is who can see her without trying to possess her. Their first conversation probably isn't a whirlwind flirtation. It's measured, comfortable, maybe a little quiet. They talk about music or family, or something that matters. Cancer doesn't small talk well. He leans in when she mentions her favorite childhood memory. Taurus doesn't flirt with flash. She connects through authenticity, through the richness of shared values and mutual respect. He makes her feel seen. She makes him feel steady. From the outside, it's uneventful. But internally, it's fireworks, slow, soft ones that light the sky in silence. The attraction they share isn't based on superficial traits. Taurus isn't impressed by flash, and Cancer isn't interested in surface-level allure. What draws them together is a shared feeling, a mutual recognition of emotional intelligence and inner warmth. Cancer immediately senses that Taurus is emotionally grounded in a way that soothes him. He sees a woman who won't play games with his heart, who knows her worth and doesn't need validation. Taurus, meanwhile, is intrigued by his softness, his gentle way of speaking, the way he listens like he actually cares, because he does. Ruled by the moon, Cancer carries moods like tides, ebbing, flowing, always shifting but deeply intuitive. He connects to people on a level that's more spiritual than verbal. Taurus, ruled by Venus, is all about sensuality, beauty, and comfort. She notices how his voice lowers when he's interested, how he subtly mirrors her energy. To someone else, this might go unnoticed. But not to her. She's tuned into the finer details. She feels his authenticity without needing it spelled out. There's something beautifully unscripted about how they come together. And their energies, while different, complement each other. Cancer's emotional fluidity is like water running through the grooves of Taurus' steady earth. Where he seeks depth, she offers security. Where she seeks peace, he offers intimacy. It's not immediate combustion, it's chemistry that brews in layers. There's mutual respect in the slowness, in the space they give each other to feel safe before opening up. Their connection grows like ivy on stone, patiently, quietly, but persistently. Neither of them is quick to trust. Cancer has been wounded before. His emotional sensitivity can be both a gift and a burden. He doesn't just wear his heart on his sleeve, he is his heart. Taurus, though steadfast and loyal, has walls built from years of cautious discernment. She doesn't let people in easily. But that's what makes their initial connection so unique. Because when these two meet, there's no rush, no desperation, just a shared and spoken agreement that this feels different, worth exploring, worth building. Cancer may test the waters emotionally, slightly vulnerable, gently expressive, watching her reactions closely. Taurus doesn't jump in, but she doesn't back away either. Instead, she listens, takes note of his sincerity, and slowly begins to match his energy. She starts replying with her own form of emotional offering, perhaps a moment of eye contact held just a little longer than before, or a soft touch on his arm when she laughs. It's subtle, but to him, it's everything. It means she sees him too. This pairing thrives in spaces that allow for depth. A noisy bar or chaotic event might blur their dynamic, but give them a quiet dinner, a park bench under a setting sun, or a shared moment during a slow dance, and suddenly, the magic reveals itself. Their chemistry isn't loud, it doesn't need to be. It speaks in glances, shared silences, and emotional safety. In the early stages, they're building a foundation that most couples never even reach. Cancer is emotionally investing before he even realizes it. He's already wondering how she feels when she's sad, what makes her feel most loved, and how he can be the person who gives her that. Taurus, in turn, is watching how he handles his emotions. Is he responsible with his heart? Does he show up for himself and others consistently? When she sees that he does, she begins to believe that he could be the rare man who deserves the quiet depths of her loyalty. And this slow build is their greatest strength. While other couples might crash and burn on fast chemistry and quick declarations, Cancer and Taurus are learning each other's rhythms. He's learning that her silence doesn't mean disinterest, it means she's thinking. She's learning that his emotional transparency isn't a trap, it's a gift. Together, they create a space where being real is valued over being impressive. They're not trying to impress anyone, not each other, not the world. They're trying to connect, genuinely, deeply, authentically, and that's the heartbeat of their initial attraction. Eventually, when that first touch happens, a brush of hands, a light touch on the back, a hug that lingers, it's electric, not because it's passionate, but because it's earned. There's intention behind it, meaning. Cancer doesn't give affection lightly. Taurus doesn't receive it without care. But when they do, it feels like home. That's why this early stage is so powerful. It's not just attraction, it's recognition. As if they've known each other in another life. As if the universe finally brought together two souls fluent in the same emotional dialect, even if they speak it differently. So yes, when a Cancer man meets a Taurus woman, the chemistry is real. But it's the kind that takes its time. It simmers, it deepens, it lingers, and when it finally ignites, it's not a spark, it's a glowing, lifelong flame. Emotional dynamics. Here's where the real depth of the Cancer man and Taurus woman relationship emerges, and it's a depth few other zodiac pairings can even reach. This is the ocean floor of compatibility, where the water is quiet, the pressure is intense, and the truths are undeniable. Emotionally, these two function on different operating systems, but that's not a flaw. It's the reason their dynamic has the potential to be as healing as it is transformational. The Cancer man is not just emotional, he is emotion. Imagine a man whose moods shift with the moon, who feels the joy and pain of his loved ones as if they were his own. He walks into a room and immediately picks up the temperature, not physically but emotionally. He knows when something is off before words are spoken. He knows when someone's smile is hiding pain. He senses vibrations in conversations, in silences, in glances. This makes him an extraordinary partner in terms of empathy and compassion. But it also means he carries a lot, sometimes more than he can handle. The Taurus woman, in contrast, is emotionally grounded, composed, and self-reliant. Her emotions don't leak out at the edges. She contains them, processes them internally, and expresses them in measured ways. She doesn't overreact, doesn't spiral. Instead, she waits, evaluates, and makes deliberate decisions about how and when to respond. Her love is practical, steady, and deeply loyal, but not always emotionally expressive in the way Cancer might hope for early on. She's the eye of the storm, not the storm itself. Now imagine this dynamic in motion. When life is calm, their emotional energies can blend beautifully. He brings tenderness to her stoic heart, she brings calm to his emotional tides. He helps her access vulnerability in a safe way, she helps him anchor his emotions in something solid. But when life throws challenges their way, stress, conflict, unmet needs, that's when the contrast becomes more pronounced, and the real work begins. Cancer, overwhelmed by internal emotional noise, may withdraw to protect himself. He won't always say why. He might retreat, go quiet, or become passive-aggressive, expecting his partner to just know what he needs. But Taurus doesn't guess. She believes in clarity, not emotional codebreaking. So when he shuts down, she may respond with silence of her own, thinking she's giving him space, when what he really needs is gentle reassurance. This misalignment can make Cancer feel invisible, uncared for. He may interpret her stillness as emotional coldness, not understanding that she's showing love the only way she knows how, by not overreacting. Meanwhile, Taurus may perceive Cancer's emotional sensitivity as instability. She might feel frustrated, even exhausted, by his fluctuating moods, wondering why he seems to swim so deeply in feelings that she believes are better handled logically or privately. And yet, this is where the transformation happens. When they begin to understand each other's emotional dialects, everything changes. Cancer starts to realize that Taurus isn't withholding love, she's simply offering it in a language of consistency, reliability, and physical care. She might not say, "I love you," a dozen times a day, but she'll stock his fridge with his favorite snacks, fix the button on his shirt without asking, or drive him to the doctor without complaint. That is love. And Taurus begins to see that Cancer's depth is not a liability, it's a gift. His ability to feel so deeply means he also loves deeply, wholeheartedly, and with a level of devotion that's rare. She learns that expressing affection, even in small emotional ways, a compliment, a moment of vulnerability, a tender acknowledgement of his feelings, can be powerful acts of service in his world. When they meet in the emotional middle, a safe zone forms. Cancer feels accepted and understood, not judged or dismissed. Taurus feels appreciated and respected, not pressured to be someone she's not. Together, they create a rhythm, a balance between emotional expression and emotional control, that feels healing for both. In their best moments, they are emotional soulmates. Cancer offers his heart in open palms. Taurus accepts it, not with melodrama, but with reverence. She protects it, not by matching his emotional highs and lows, but by remaining steadfast through them. He, in turn, teaches her the power of emotional transparency, not to make her more like him, but to free her from emotional restraint when it's safe and earned. This dynamic creates a container for real emotional growth. Cancer becomes more emotionally responsible, learning to express his needs calmly, without retreating or expecting mind reading. Taurus becomes more emotionally expressive, allowing herself to lean into feelings rather than retreat into stoicism. They each make space for the other's way of being, and in that space, trust blooms. When trust takes root in this pairing, their emotional connection deepens in a way that's rare. They don't just support each other during the good times, they show up in the mess, in the moments when it's hard to love, and they choose each other anyway. Taurus learns to soften when Cancer needs comfort. Cancer learns to stand steady when Taurus needs peace. It's emotional alchemy at its finest. And that emotional bond becomes nearly unbreakable. They remember how it felt to be misunderstood before they met. They remember how hard it was to explain themselves to partners who didn't get them. And now, they get each other, maybe not instantly, maybe not always intuitively, but enough to keep trying. Enough to care deeply, enough to stay. Even their arguments begin to evolve. Cancer might still retreat, but he returns quicker. Taurus might still resist emotional conversation, but she tries harder. They start seeing conflict not as a threat to the relationship, but as a chance to grow it. Each emotional misstep becomes an opportunity to learn, adapt, and love more consciously. In long-term partnerships, this emotional synergy becomes their secret weapon. While other couples crumble under miscommunication or emotional neglect, Cancer and Taurus build a fortress out of emotional honesty and mutual respect. They don't need grand gestures to prove their love, because they live it, every day, in the way they hold space for each other's feelings, flaws, and fears. So yes, their emotional dynamics can be complicated. Cancer swims too deep, Taurus stands too firm. But it's in those contrasts that their emotional magic lives. One flows, one holds. One heals with words, the other with silence. But when they truly connect, when they listen and adapt, when they choose to stay even when it's hard, they don't just survive emotionally. They thrive. Long-term compatibility. When it comes to long-term compatibility between a Cancer man and a Taurus woman, we're not talking about flashy, firework-filled passion that burns hot and fizzles fast. No. This is the kind of pairing that starts slow, gains strength with time, and ultimately becomes one of the zodiac's most quietly indestructible bonds. It's the emotional equivalent of an old tree, deep roots, strong limbs, and a kind of resilience that doesn't just endure seasons, but thrives through them. Both the Cancer man and the Taurus woman are deeply loyal, monogamous by nature, and wired for commitment. They aren't in love with the idea of love. They're in love with real love. The kind that shows up daily, even when it's inconvenient. The kind that sacrifices ego for stability. And this is the key to their long-term success. They're both builders, not browsers. They don't swipe left on each other. They settle in, plant seeds, and tend the emotional garden together. Cancer brings a vision of home that is soaked in warmth and sentiment. He dreams of shared traditions, photo albums, lazy Sundays, and raising children with heart-centered values. He isn't just interested in partnership, he wants legacy. Taurus, with her unwavering loyalty and practical strength, is the perfect partner to turn those dreams into tangible reality. She doesn't just support his emotional needs, she creates the structural stability to support the life they build together. She handles the day-to-day details that often overwhelm the sensitive Cancer, and he fills their life with the emotional texture she sometimes forgets to seek. The long-term vision for this couple is rooted in shared values. Both prize security, both respect loyalty, both believe that love should feel safe, not stressful. Taurus wants to build a life free of chaos, where everything, finances, routines, roles, feels solid and predictable. Cancer craves emotional safety above all else. He needs to know that when the world gets hard, he has someone to come home to who won't leave. Put those desires together, and you have a foundation as strong as it is nurturing. But it's not all seamless. Over time, their differences can create friction if left unchecked. Cancer thrives on emotional intimacy and frequent reassurance. He wants to talk about feelings, check in often, and feel emotionally close even in silence. Taurus, though incredibly devoted, doesn't always express love through emotional dialogue. She's more about doing, providing, showing up, being reliable. This can lead to a common misunderstanding. Cancer may feel emotionally starved even while Taurus believes she's doing everything right. These emotional misfires aren't fatal, but they do require intentional communication. Cancer must learn that Taurus shows love in concrete, often nonverbal ways. She may not say, "I love you," every day, but she'll fix the broken faucet, balance the budget, and bring home his favorite dessert without being asked. Meanwhile, Taurus must stretch outside her comfort zone and recognize that for Cancer, love needs to be felt and heard. Sometimes, just a few words of affirmation or a hand gently held across the table can fill his emotional tank for days. And what about routines? That's another potential hiccup. Taurus is famously attached to her habits and comfort zones. She likes to know what's happening, when, and why. Cancer, while also a creature of comfort, tends to be more emotionally spontaneous. He might want a late-night heart-to-heart when Taurus is ready for bed, or suggest a family road trip on a whim while she's mentally focused on the grocery list. These small lifestyle mismatches can pile up if unspoken. But again, the strength of this pairing lies in their willingness to adjust. Cancer learns to respect Taurus' need for structure. Taurus, in turn, learns that flexibility, especially emotional flexibility, can be an act of love. Over the years, they begin to move in harmony, syncing their rhythms like a slow dance learned over time. In marriage, they excel. Cancer becomes the emotional cornerstone of the household. He remembers birthdays, milestones, and the emotional significance behind ordinary days. He makes the house feel alive. Taurus ensures the house stands upright. She manages the finances, coordinates the logistics, and brings a sense of order to the beautiful emotional chaos that Cancer sometimes drifts into. Together, they create a home that's as warm as it is unshakable. As parents, they are especially well matched. Cancer brings endless compassion, patience, and emotional education to the children. He's the parent who reads bedtime stories with character voices, who cries at graduations, who teaches empathy by example. Taurus is the steady hand. She enforces rules, instills values, and ensures the kids grow up with a sense of discipline and security. Their parenting styles are different, but complementary. One nurtures the heart, the other fortifies the spine. And as they grow older, the Cancer man and Taurus woman become more than just lovers or spouses, they become each other's sanctuary. They find solace in the routines they once resisted. They take comfort in the memories they've built together. Cancer looks at Taurus and sees the person who stood beside him through every emotional tide. Taurus looks at Cancer and sees the man who made her feel understood even when she didn't have the words. Even through inevitable hard times, financial setbacks, family pressures, health issues, this couple tends to grow closer. Cancer's resilience is rooted in emotional connection. When things go wrong, he doesn't shut down, he reaches out. Taurus, though not emotionally reactive, shows her strength through action. She becomes the rock, the provider, the person who ensures life keeps moving forward. And this tandem strength, this emotional meets practical partnership, is what makes them so formidable in the long run. Ultimately, what makes the Cancer man and Taurus woman such a powerful long-term match is their shared devotion to staying. They don't quit easily. They don't ghost when things get tough. They believe in the sanctity of partnership, not the Instagram version of love, but the quiet, sacred kind built behind closed doors, over years of small decisions, mutual sacrifices, and fierce loyalty. They don't just commit to each other. They commit to the life they're building, to the shared rituals, the family traditions, the inside jokes, the small routines that become sacred with time. They build a life that others envy not because it's perfect, but because it's real, and it's theirs. So if you're wondering whether this pairing has long-term potential, the answer is a resounding yes. Not because they're the same, but because their differences make them stronger. Not because they avoid challenges, but because they move through them with love, intention, and an unshakable desire to stay together. In a world full of fleeting flings and shallow connections, the Cancer man and Taurus woman offer a refreshing reminder that real love still exists, and it only gets better with time. Communication conflict resolution. When the Cancer man and Taurus woman enter the arena of communication and conflict resolution, they bring with them two entirely different emotional toolkits. One is packed with nuance, tides, and unspoken needs. The other is filled with grounded logic, practicality, and a deep-rooted sense of inner calm. This contrast doesn't have to be a wedge between them. It can be the balance that brings their relationship into a more thoughtful and emotionally intelligent state. But only if they learn to translate. The Cancer man approaches communication like it's a heart-to-heart with the universe. Every word has weight. Every silence has meaning. He listens closely, reads between the lines, and speaks from a place of emotional truth. However, when conflict arises, he often finds himself caught in a storm of internal feelings. His instinct is to retreat, either emotionally, through withdrawal, or verbally, through silence that's heavy with unspoken pain. His words may come out soft and subtle or explode like a dam breaking. Either way, they're drenched in emotion. The Taurus woman, by contrast, sees communication as a tool for solving problems, not swimming through them. Her speech is deliberate, her logic solid, and her delivery firm. When a problem arises, she prefers to address it calmly and directly, but only once. She doesn't like repeating herself or being pulled into emotional whirlpools she can't control. To her, emotional excess can feel like noise. It's not that she doesn't care, she just doesn't always know what to do with the feelings. Now imagine a disagreement. Let's say Cancer feels underappreciated. He's been quietly nursing a sense of being taken for granted. He hasn't said anything because, in his mind, Taurus should just know. When he finally voices it, it might come out with layers of emotional buildup. You don't care, I feel invisible, you never say thank you. Taurus hears this and immediately shifts into logic mode. Of course I care, she replies. Didn't I just cook dinner? Pay the bills? Help you last weekend? To her, these actions are love. To him, they're not the same as emotional recognition. And boom, here's the gridlock. He wants to feel understood. She wants to move on and solve the issue. He's hurt that she isn't responding with warmth. She's frustrated that he didn't bring it up sooner and is now expecting her to decode his emotional distress. This is the moment that determines whether their argument will spiral or evolve. For Cancer, the lesson is timing and clarity. He needs to bring up concerns when his emotional waves are manageable, not crashing. He needs to express himself in a way that invites understanding rather than demands emotional labor. Instead of saying, "You don't care," he can say, "I feel most loved when you acknowledge the little things I do, can we work on that?" That's a world of difference. It's honest without being accusatory, vulnerable without being overwhelming. Taurus, on her end, must soften her natural resistance to emotional confrontation. Not everything has to be a fix-it project. Sometimes, listening, really listening, is the most important act of love. If she can pause her instinct to defend and instead say, "I didn't realize you felt that way. Tell me more," she opens the door for connection. She doesn't have to become emotionally dramatic, just emotionally present. It's also important to remember that Cancer tends to take words deeply to heart. A sharp remark from Taurus, even if it's said in a moment of frustration, can echo in his mind for days. Her tone matters just as much as her words. He hears how she says something almost more than what she says. So if she snaps, even with valid points, he may shut down entirely. Her challenge is learning that firmness and compassion can coexist. She can hold her boundaries and still speak with kindness. Meanwhile, Taurus values peace. She despises emotional chaos, and when things get too heated, she might completely withdraw. Not in the way Cancer does, he withdraws to feel safe. She withdraws to end the problem. But this can leave Cancer feeling abandoned, unheard, and more hurt than before. His challenge is learning to give her space without interpreting it as rejection. He needs to trust that her stillness doesn't mean she's stopped caring. Sometimes, she just needs time to sort through the issue internally before returning to discuss it rationally. Over time, this couple can develop an incredible rhythm if they lean into emotional generosity instead of emotional defensiveness. They begin to understand each other's cues. Cancer learns to say what's on his heart before it turns into resentment. Taurus learns that offering a soft place to land emotionally doesn't cost her strength, it enhances it. They also need to learn when not to talk. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Some days, silence is the salve. Taurus, being naturally patient, is already good at this. Cancer, who tends to overprocess, can benefit by learning from her. He begins to understand that not every emotion needs immediate validation. Some can be self-soothed, some can be shared later, and some, he'll come to see, don't need to be said at all. The healthiest version of their conflict dynamic looks like this. Cancer speaks his truth in calm, heartfelt language. Taurus listens not to rebut, but to understand. Then she responds with grounded wisdom and small emotional gestures that make him feel heard. Cancer, feeling safe, releases the tension. Taurus, feeling trusted, becomes more emotionally open. And the cycle reinforces itself in a beautiful loop of mutual growth. Conflict, for them, becomes less of a battlefield and more of a building site. Every disagreement is a chance to reinforce their foundation with new bricks: empathy, patience, vulnerability, grace. The more they practice, the stronger their communication becomes. They stop fearing arguments and start seeing them as doorways to deeper intimacy. And perhaps most importantly, they learn the sacred art of repair. After a misstep or harsh exchange, Cancer learns to extend forgiveness. Taurus learns to offer apology. Neither holds grudges, neither walks away. They both return, not just to the table, but to each other, with humility and care. In the end, the Cancer man and Taurus woman can create a communication dynamic that is emotionally rich and remarkably stable. Yes, they'll clash. Yes, they'll misunderstand. But as long as they stay curious about each other instead of critical, keep seeking to understand rather than win, they won't just survive conflict. They'll master it, together. Physical intimate connection. Let's dim the lights a little more, sink into the softness, and talk about what happens when the emotional and physical bodies collide between a Cancer man and a Taurus woman. Because when these two make love, it's not just skin meeting skin, it's heart meeting earth, moonlight wrapping around velvet, waves flowing gently into fertile soil. It's tenderness and desire braided so tightly together that it becomes something transcendent. Something real. The Cancer man, ruled by the moon, approaches physical intimacy the way a poet writes verses. It's sacred, deliberate, emotional. He doesn't separate sex from love, and he doesn't see touch as purely physical. For him, every embrace is an act of trust, every kiss a confession. His sensuality isn't performative, it's intuitive. He reads his partner's body language with the same care he gives to their emotions. When he reaches out, he's not just asking for closeness, he's offering safety, protection, and deep affection. The Taurus woman, on the other hand, is a sensual goddess of the zodiac. Ruled by Venus, the planet of pleasure, beauty, and physical love, she is utterly in tune with her body. She doesn't just enjoy intimacy, she inhabits it. She loves the feel of silk against her skin, the comfort of warm sheets, the grounding energy of being fully present in her body. Her sensuality is unhurried, luxurious, and authentic. She doesn't rush desire, she savors it. Now, when you bring these two energies together, his emotional tides and her sensual depth, what you get isn't a wild inferno of lust. It's something much more powerful. It's slow-burning intimacy that melts in layers. It's a connection that begins long before the bedroom, perhaps in a shared look across the table, a hand on a shoulder while passing in the hallway, a quiet cuddle after a difficult day. For them, foreplay isn't a 5-minute event, it's a lifestyle. The Taurus woman appreciates how the Cancer man doesn't push. He takes his time, tunes into her rhythm, and prioritizes comfort over conquest. That makes her feel emotionally safe and physically desired, a powerful combination that opens her up in ways that feel rare and deeply satisfying. The Cancer man, in return, is drawn to how Taurus owns her sensuality without apology. She's not flashy, but she's magnetic. Her confidence is in her groundedness, and her touch has weight. When she wraps her arms around him, he feels anchored, held not just by a body but by a soul that means it. In the bedroom, their chemistry unfolds like a story told in sighs and silences. Cancer leads with emotional intent. He wants to know how she's feeling, if she's relaxed, what she needs. Taurus leads with physical presence. She creates an atmosphere of comfort, with soft lighting, clean sheets, a scent she knows will drive him wild. Together, they create a sanctuary. And within that space, intimacy becomes more than just passion, it becomes nourishment. They are incredibly compatible in terms of sensual rhythm. Cancer's need for emotional depth matches perfectly with Taurus' love of physical touch. He craves closeness not just during sex but before and after, cuddling, nuzzling, tracing her skin with gentle fingers. Taurus, far from brushing this off, leans into it. She wants to be touched, and not just for arousal. For her, physical affection is a form of love language, and in Cancer, she finds someone who speaks it fluently. Over time, their connection grows deeper, more layered, and more intuitive. They start to sense each other's needs without words. He'll know when she wants to be kissed slowly, when she needs silence instead of sweet nothings. She'll sense when he needs reassurance through physical closeness after an emotionally draining day. Their intimacy becomes a dance of give and receive, feel and respond. It's never mechanical, it's never empty, it's always full. But even the most soul-deep lovers face challenges. And for Cancer and Taurus, the shadow side of their shared desire for comfort is predictability. They love routines. They love what's familiar, and in the bedroom, that can sometimes translate into repetition. The same positions, the same settings, the same rhythm. Comfort is beautiful, but desire thrives on surprise, and if they're not careful, they could slip into autopilot. The solution isn't dramatic reinvention, it's subtle variation. Cancer might write a love letter and read it aloud in bed. Taurus might buy silk sheets or wear something new that appeals to both his emotions and her own sense of tactile luxury. They could try a weekend away to reset the energy. It doesn't need to be kinky or outlandish, it just needs to feel new again. A change of scenery, a slightly longer kiss, a different way of holding each other. Small shifts can reignite the fire without abandoning the sacred rituals they cherish. Another key piece? Emotional transparency. For Cancer, emotional mood bleeds directly into his physicality. If he's upset, stressed, or feeling unappreciated, he may retreat sexually. Taurus, more physical than emotional, may misinterpret this as rejection or distance. It's vital for him to express when his emotions are affecting his desire. And it's equally important for Taurus to reassure him that physical touch is not just desire, it's love, loyalty, presence. When they keep this feedback loop open, their physical connection only strengthens. In moments of vulnerability, illness, grief, stress, this pairing shines. Their intimacy transforms from erotic to healing. Cancer holds her with infinite tenderness. Taurus supports him with unshakable presence. They kiss foreheads instead of mouths. They wrap around each other like vines, not to consume, but to protect. These moments are just as intimate, sometimes more so, than the passionate ones. Because they prove that physical connection isn't about performance. It's about devotion. And that's what sets them apart from many other zodiac matches. For Cancer and Taurus, intimacy is not a box to check off. It's a spiritual home they return to again and again. A place where bodies become languages and silences say more than words ever could. It's where Taurus proves her loyalty in touch, and where Cancer shares his soul without speaking. Over years, their physical connection becomes part of their identity as a couple. Friends may never see the full extent of their chemistry, but it's there, in the way he looks at her when she walks by. In the way she brushes his hair off his forehead while he sleeps. In the way they find excuses to touch, always. These aren't grand gestures, they're quiet flames that never stop burning. So yes, their connection is delicious, but it's also sacred. Intimacy, for them, isn't a game. It's a vow whispered over skin, again and again, without ever needing to say the words out loud. It's the promise that no matter how the world turns, they will return to each other in this private, powerful way. Always. Shared values, life goals. This is the arena where Cancer and Taurus don't just align, they thrive. At their core, these two signs aren't chasing thrills or short-lived highs. They're invested in building something lasting, something real. While their methods and expressions may differ, their hearts are calibrated to the same frequency: security, comfort, emotional richness, and long-term devotion. They aren't interested in temporary happiness. They're in it for the forever kind, the kind that grows roots, blossoms through the years, and survives the storms. The Cancer man values emotional safety above all else. He wants to wake up next to someone who sees his sensitivity not as weakness, but as a strength. He dreams of a life where affection flows freely, where the people he loves feel protected and cherished. His vision of happiness is wrapped in the familiar: homemade meals, traditions passed down through generations, movie nights on the couch with kids laughing down the hall. His goals are deeply intertwined with love, family, and connection. The Taurus woman, on the other hand, craves stability in a world that often feels unpredictable. Her goals are both practical and deeply soulful. She doesn't just want a life that looks good, she wants one that feels good. A home filled with warmth and beauty. A bank account that reflects smart choices. A lifestyle that allows for small luxuries and peaceful evenings. Her ambition isn't flashy. It's grounded in creating a safe, abundant environment where she and her partner can thrive without chaos. Together, these values blend into a shared life that feels like a fortress, strong, deliberate, and deeply personal. They both want to build, not wander. Neither believes in leaving important things to chance. Whether it's financial planning, emotional wellness, or long-term family goals, Cancer and Taurus are united by a shared desire for direction, for purpose, for forward momentum. Their relationship is a carefully tended garden, and they are equally committed to its growth. They share a reverence for loyalty that borders on sacred. Betrayal isn't just a wound to them, it's a complete violation of their worldview. Trust is the cornerstone of their bond, and they both protect it fiercely. The Cancer man is instinctively protective of the people he loves, and Taurus, once committed, is unshakably devoted. This mutual expectation of loyalty means that they don't just share values, they live them. Fidelity isn't just assumed, it's essential. Family planning often reveals just how aligned they are. Cancer often dreams of a bustling household, filled with traditions, family dinners, and unconditional love. Taurus might be more measured in her desire for children, but she absolutely sees value in building a legacy. She wants her home to be a sanctuary, for herself, for her partner, and one day, for the little lives they bring into the world. They both prioritize parenting with intention, blending Cancer's emotional fluency with Taurus' structured guidance to raise grounded, secure children. Financially, their values mostly sync, though small frictions may arise. Cancer can be generous to a fault, often using money to express love. He might surprise his partner with spontaneous gifts, book surprise trips, or splurge on a romantic gesture just to make her smile. Taurus, while generous in her own right, tends to view money through the lens of security. She prefers savings accounts to impulse buys. She's the planner, the budgeter, the one who thinks 10 years ahead. But instead of clashing, this dynamic can create balance. Cancer teaches Taurus that emotional generosity is just as important as financial prudence. Taurus teaches Cancer that love doesn't always require a receipt. And when it comes to the big picture, their 5, 10, and 20-year plans, these two are remarkably aligned. They both want peace over drama, depth over flash. They see value in settling down, not settling for. They want to build a life that's private but meaningful, quiet but fulfilling. Whether it's buying a home, starting a business, or retiring early to travel the world, they approach goals with the same mindset. Plan first, execute with care, enjoy together. Taurus adds practical magic to Cancer's emotional world. She takes his dreams and finds a way to structure them into reality. He adds emotional depth to her steady world. He softens her edges, reminds her that it's okay to feel without always having a plan. Together, they embody both the head and the heart. They balance caution with intuition, planning with spontaneity. They're also incredibly aligned in their definition of success. For some couples, success might mean status or recognition. But for Cancer and Taurus, success looks like a full fridge, a paid mortgage, laughter around the dinner table, and someone's hand to hold during the hard days. It's not performative, it's personal. They don't need validation from the outside world. They just need each other, and the life they've quietly and intentionally created. In day-to-day life, their shared values show up in the little things. Morning routines that feel like rituals. Shared grocery lists, joint savings goals, recurring date nights. They move through life as a team, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely believe life is better when they're planning it together. Their relationship isn't built on lofty ideals, it's built on tangible action. They don't just say what they value, they live it every single day. Even in moments of disagreement, their common ground pulls them back. Cancer may get emotionally stirred, Taurus may get frustrated by perceived overreactions. But at the end of the day, they want the same thing: to love and be loved in a way that's steady, secure, and sincere. That shared desire allows them to recalibrate quickly, to talk it through, to forgive, to remember what they're building together. And that's the beauty of this match. They're not chasing a fantasy. They're co-architects of a life that feels like home. Every brick is laid with intention. Every decision, even the small ones, reflects a shared vision. Whether it's growing old together in the house they bought with cash, or simply knowing that no matter where life takes them, they'll face it hand in hand, the Cancer man and Taurus woman embody what it means to live by shared values and walk toward shared goals. They don't just dream of forever. They build it, one loving, loyal, deeply grounded step at a time. Final thoughts. So, are Cancer men and Taurus women truly soulmates? If you're looking for the kind of love that's steady instead of volatile, deep instead of dramatic, and rooted instead of restless, then the answer is a resounding yes. But not in the way fairy tales often describe soulmates. This isn't the blinding, heart-racing love that consumes everything in its path. It's not about wild declarations or cinematic grand gestures. This is quieter, truer, built with hands, not fantasy. It's the kind of soulmate bond that grows stronger because it isn't always easy, but because it's always worth it. There is an old, earthy kind of magic between these two signs. The Cancer man, ruled by the moon, is moved by tides of emotion, rhythms of memory, and the pull of the unseen. The Taurus woman, ruled by Venus, is the embodiment of sensuality, beauty, and inner peace. When they come together, it's as if the moonlight finally finds its place in the garden, soft, nurturing, and necessary. They don't overwhelm each other. They complete each other in the most grounded way possible. Their compatibility isn't flashy, but it's deeply profound. It's in the way they both crave a life built on safety and trust. It's in how they each show up, not to impress, but to invest. Taurus provides the physical and practical foundation, the structure, the reliability. Cancer fills that structure with warmth, history, heart. Together, they create a life that's not about escaping reality, it's about enriching it. Yes, there will be moments where they rub against each other's differences. Cancer might yearn for more verbal affection, while Taurus prefers to show her love through loyalty and presence. Taurus may want things to be calm and predictable, while Cancer might bring emotional tides that stir the waters. But those differences? They aren't roadblocks, they're reminders of balance. Cancer teaches Taurus how to feel more deeply, to open up emotionally without fear. Taurus teaches Cancer how to stay grounded, to trust the process, and to find peace in the present moment. The beauty of their connection is that it deepens over time. Many couples burn out after the honeymoon phase, but not these two. What starts as affection evolves into devotion. What begins as shared values transforms into a shared life. And with each passing year, their bond doesn't grow old, it grows richer. Because they're both committed to tending it, like a garden they both planted and vowed to keep alive. They're not thrill seekers in love, they're caretakers. They don't chase highs, they cultivate roots, and in doing so, they build something most people only dream about, a love that feels like home. A relationship where both people can breathe, soften, and be fully themselves. That's not just compatibility, that's sanctuary. Even the way they fight, if they learn each other's language, becomes a tool for intimacy. Cancer brings vulnerability, Taurus brings reason, and if they meet in the middle, with patience, listening, and a shared desire to grow, they come out stronger after every disagreement. They don't run, they return. That's rare, that's gold. Cancer and Taurus aren't the storm. They're the quiet after, the peace you return to, the arms you fall asleep in because you know they won't let go. They remind each other that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. That peace doesn't mean boredom, it means safety. It means stability that still surprises you. It means choosing the same person again and again, not because you have to, but because you want to. This is a connection where Sunday mornings matter more than Saturday nights. Where shared coffee tastes better than champagne toasts. Where loving someone slowly, honestly, and with intention is the greatest romance of all. Cancer and Taurus may not be the couple everyone notices first in a room, but they're the ones still holding hands decades later, still laughing over inside jokes, still remembering the little things. So if you're a Cancer man loving a Taurus woman, or a Taurus woman holding space for her Cancer man, know this: you are not chasing some far-off dream. You are building something sacred. With every conversation, every compromise, every moment of tenderness, you are laying bricks in a love that can withstand time, hardship, and change. And that, perhaps, is the most beautiful kind of soulmate bond there is, not the one made of fire and fantasy, but the one made of trust, patience, and devotion. The one that doesn't shout its presence but lives in every gentle gesture. A love that feels like the world finally getting quiet. A love that feels like home. Forever.